have platinum blonde hair and wanting to go back to a natural brown color, there are steps that need to be taken to ensure that our result is going to be as natural as possible. When we lighten our hair from a dark brown color to a blonde color, we are exposing these different levels of warmth in the hair. And once we have reached a level 9, a level 10, we don't have any natural warmth in the hair left over. So if we were to put just a demi-permanent brown color over our platinum blonde hair, chances are it's probably going to give you a very hollow and muddy greenish result. Because the demi-permanent pigment that you have chosen has been formulated to expect there to be warmth in the hair already. And if there's not any warmth present, then all of those extra pigments that create balance with this warmth are now gone. So this is where you're going to get that hollow, muddy, greenish result. So in order for us to get the balanced, neutral result that we are looking for, we need to replace the warmth that is missing in the hair. And since natural hair lifts from red to orange to yellow, we basically have to replace the pigments the way that they came out. Now, when we're choosing filler colors to pre-tone the hair to replace the warmth, we do not want to be using any highly chromatic colors if we are going for like a neutral, nice, soft brown result. Now remember, natural hair colors will reflect somewhere in this inner circle of the color wheel. So we want to be choosing filler colors that reflect inside here and not highly chromatic around the outside. If we choose bright oranges and bright reds to fill the hair with, it is going to show up in the result and we are going to end up with like a red-brown color. Like natural virgin hair doesn't even lift highly chromatically like this. It lifts more like this vibe, like very soft, kind of a muted type vibe, just like this chart here. These are not fire engine or super intense Crayola reds and oranges. So instead of choosing like a super intense copper, I would recommend filling the hair with more brown pigments, which is basically like a warmer version of neutral. So if our goal is a level 6 here, we want to fill the hair with like red-orange pigments at some point during the filling process. Now, like I said, we do not want to be using highly chromatic colors, and it is recommended to maybe do a couple of fillers depending on how dark you are going. And since we have to replace red-orange pigments in the hair, I would recommend doing this in multiple steps instead of just coloring your hair like a red-orange color. So if our goal is a level 6 from a level 10, I would recommend maybe filling the hair with like a level 8 gold first, because that will replace all of the pigments that we're missing at a level 8. But there's not really any red in gold, so we need to do a second filler to replace the red hues that are missing at a level 6. But like I said, we do not want to be using like an Arial Crayola red to do this because that it's going to give us a red-brown result. That's not going to reflect very naturally because nobody has naturally Crayola red hair. So I personally would recommend using more of a brown pigment to replace the missing red in the hair because it is inside this natural reflection result vibe of what natural hair does, and it will replace the warmth that is missing in the hair. To be completely honest, if you are going to be super lazy about this, you could probably mix your level 8 gold toner and your level 7 or level 6 red-brown toner together in the same bowl and just do it in one step. Another thing that you need to take into consideration is what type of reflective result are we looking for? Are we looking for a cool toned level 6? So maybe not using a super intense any sort of red pigments at all, maybe just straight up brown instead of adding any sort of copper to the mix. But if we're going for like a rich chestnutty or chocolatey brown, then we definitely want to add a little tiny bit of like a brownish copper in the filler formulation. Now there's a couple different functions with doing fillers in the hair. Not only does it replace the missing warmth back into the hair to go dark, but it also creates like common denominating pigments, almost like paving a road for our result to stick better to the hair. And if your result ends up fading, it's not going to fade in that like really gross, like greenish muddy vibes and turn really hollow because we have all of this pigment filling in the space and reflecting the light in a way that looks very natural. One last thing, when going dark, I would always recommend doing demi-permanent hair color because permanent hair color is completely unnecessary to use in a going darker situation. Because permanent hair color has ammonia, it is going to kind of gently dissolve some of the proteins out of the hair and then deposit the gold pigment over the top of it. But since we're already blonde, there is no need to dissolve more pigment out of the hair when we are trying to replace pigment back into the hair. Using permanent hair color does not guarantee a permanent result. The reason that permanent hair color is called permanent hair color is because it permanently dissolves protein out of your hair, exposing these warm undertones that becomes permanent. And demi-permanent hair color only deposits pigment. It does not create more microscopic holes in the hair strand.